Live from the CBS Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, this is CBS2 News at 5 p.m.
A gruesome stabbing cuts a young man's life short, and now prosecutors say this murder was also a hate crime. Murdered because he was gay.
Yeah, that's what the DA says happened to Blaze Bernstein when he came home from college on winter break. CBS 2 Orange County reporter Michelle Gili is live in Santa Ana right now with more about what led to that brand new charge today. Michelle?
Well, the DA is calling this the dark side of suspect Sam Woodward. He says it's chilling hate speech that was uncovered on the suspect's cell phone and on his social media account. This bolsters the DA's theory that Blaze Bernstein was killed because of his sexual orientation.
We will prove that Woodward killed Blaze because Blaze is gay.
The murder charge filed against Newport Beach's Sam Woodward in the brutal stabbing death of Blaze Bernstein has been amended to include a hate crime enhancement. The change makes the 21-year-old eligible for life without the possibility of parole.
The evidence was developed by examining Woodward's cell phone, laptop, social media, and other digital evidence revealing the dark side of Woodward's thoughts and intentions. There's a lot there that just spews hatred towards a lot of different groups of people.
Officials say Woodward, who was a friend from high school, picked Bernstein up at his Foothill Ranch home. Without getting into detail, the DA claims early the next morning, Woodward stabbed him multiple times. Jeannie and Gideon Bernstein sat in the front row of the news conference. 7 months ago today, their oldest child disappeared. Blaze Bernstein's body was found a week later at Borrego Park, where he was last seen, buried in a shallow grave.
Today we suffer an added layer of pain from learning that he was likely killed simply because of who he was as a human being.
We have learned that the DA is still investigating Woodward's alleged ties to neo-Nazi hate groups. Blaze Bernstein's mother, Jeannie, continued to push people to do good deeds in the name of Blaze, and she warned about hate speech spread on the internet.
We are people who are suffering because of hate. We live in a world where hate is real, and the people that practice it can be hiding in your child's bedroom and their computer.
Sam Woodward is in the Orange County Jail being held on $5 million bail. He has pleaded not guilty, and he's expected in court in 3 weeks for a preliminary hearing. However, it's unclear whether today's developments could postpone that prelim. That's the latest live in Santa Ana. I'm Michelle Gili. Back to you.
And now to a tense situation at the end of a pursuit today. A murder suspect eventually stops in South L.A., but then witnesses confront the police. It happened at Avalon Boulevard at 43rd Street in South L.A. CBS 2's Dave Lopez is there now live to show you what happened. Dave?
Well, Jeff, it was just a couple blocks up the street over my right shoulder. And as you mentioned, it was a very strange ending to what seemed like a very small, very slow pursuit. As you mentioned, the woman, a female, that's the suspect, had her 5-year-old in the car. And when it was over, her relatives came out screaming at police saying, "Don't arrest her. Don't arrest her. She did nothing wrong." Police say the woman driving this car was a murder suspect. They wouldn't give her name. They said she had her 5-year-old daughter in the car and was driving slowly, heading home, somewhere along 42nd Street off Avalon. According to a woman who was next to her in a car, she was smoking a cigarette and appeared as calm as can be.
Driving about 25 miles per hour down, she was just going around maybe the blocks, 43rd, 42nd, and up and down.
Police say their suspect had committed a murder yesterday afternoon, and they were tailing her, spotted her at 92nd and Broadway, and then followed her, the slow speed. A number of patrol cars behind her, and then Fanny, who was in a different car not far from her, said her boyfriend said, "I think something's going to go wrong," and he attempted to stop the woman. He's driving the black Charger, approaching the woman on the driver's side.
He was, I don't know, speculating that they were going to be pointing guns at her and the baby was going to be at danger, so he's kind of got in front of the vehicle.
The suspect slowly got out of the car, holding her 5-year-old all the while. Police surrounded her. Some had weapons pointed at her. They grabbed the 5-year-old, and then they took the woman into custody. And then a number of people started to approach police, yelling, appeared very angry. We were told later that they were family members, and they were yelling at police not to take the woman into custody, that she, quote, had a good reason to stab the person that she stabbed yesterday. And please don't arrest her.
Some of the family members started supporting her and why she did what she did. But right now, everything's under investigation. We're going to look at all the facts.
Order was quickly restored. The 5-year-old girl is fine with other relatives, and the woman is now in custody. And as for the man who tried to stop the chase, he was arrested for interfering with police. So police also wanted to make it very clear, if you see a chase and you want to get involved and stop it, don't let the police do it. As for the murder, the alleged murder that the woman has been booked for, still no name released, but police say it was not a random act, that they say they have evidence that this woman knew the person that she had stabbed, and apparently there'd been a long time running feud between the two of them. That's from the police. Reporting live from South L.A., I'm Dave Lopez, CBS2 News.
Dave, thank you. A suspected serial killer refused to enter court once again today. Daniel Drayton learned that news cameras would be there, so he got angry and refused to go. Drayton is accused of killing a woman in New York and sexually assaulting a woman in North Hollywood.
Yeah, he reportedly told investigators that he killed 5 women he met on dating apps. Drayton reportedly said the voices in his head made him do it. Today, the judge ordered Drayton to undergo a mental evaluation.
President Trump's reportedly pushing his lawyer now to finally set up that long-awaited one-on-one with special counsel Robert Mueller. The New York Times reports tonight the president is eager to talk with the team to clear himself of any wrongdoing, but the main sticking points are which topics can be discussed. Mueller's team reportedly want to ask Mr. Trump about possible coordination between the Trump campaign and Russia during the 2016 election, as well as whether he tried to obstruct the investigation. Mueller reportedly agreed to accept some of the president's answers in writing with follow-up questions in person.
He's always been interested in testifying. It's us, meaning the team of lawyers, including me, that have the most reservations about that.
One area the president's lawyers reportedly have reservations about, the firing of FBI Director James Comey. He told Congress Mr. Trump pressured him to drop an investigation of former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn.
A White House advisor and first daughter Ivanka Trump gave a revealing interview today. She said the White House's decision to separate immigrant families at the border was a low point for the administration.
I am very vehemently against family separation and the separation of parents and children.
She also said the news media is not the enemy of the people, contrary to what her father has said and tweeted in the past. Well, today the president made a clarification on Twitter. He tweeted this out. They asked my daughter Ivanka whether or not the media is the enemy of the people. She correctly said no. It is the fake news, which is a large percentage of the media, that is the enemy of the people.
A former California senator heard an earful from people not happy about the L.A. Clippers looking to build a new home in Inglewood. This morning, Barbara Boxer toured the neighborhood where the new Clippers arena would be. Homeowners are worried about the increased noise, traffic, pollution, and property value if it is in fact built. Business owners are concerned they'll get kicked out to make space for the arena.
This would be the 4th huge entertainment complex within 2.5 miles in a residential community. And it's just not fair.
We want smart growth. We want smart development. We want investments that do not lead to displacement.
Well, the Community Coalition filed a lawsuit against the city to stop the arena.
Well, from basketball now to football and the Rams. Rams training camp is only a week old, but the intensity is already pretty high.
Oh, yeah. CBS2 Sports Director Jim Hill is live tonight in Irvine at Rams camp with more now. Hi there, Jim.
Hi, guys. You know, when you think about it, these guys are really getting tired of beating up on each other. They want to beat on someone else, that is for sure. But when you think about it, the Rams are regarded as one of the top teams going into this current NFL season, and they are one of the favorites maybe to go to the Super Bowl. And one of the reasons why has to be with their all-purpose running back. And, of course, we're talking about Todd Gurley. Gurley, who just signed a recent contract. He was the Offensive Player of the Year last year, and his bank account really reflects why. Right before training camp, he signed a 4-year contract extension with the Rams worth some $60 million, and Gurley is not hiding his happiness with the pay raise.
Hey, whoever said money don't make you happy, lie. Nah, man, you know, it's another year. Another year to be blessed to play in this league.
He was able to earn that contract, but by no means has he gotten complacent. He's continued to work even harder. I think you guys, you've been out here, you see the way he finishes those runs.
He's been quite happy. It's been good. It's been good. He's been great. But no, he's been working as hard as he ever has, and
he looks fast right now. I'll tell you that. He looks good. He looks really sharp and fast.
And the Rams will practice here in Irvine a couple more days, and next week early they go back to Baltimore, where they will have 3 scrimmages against the Baltimore Ravens. And then their first preseason game will be in Baltimore against the Ravens, and that's a game you'll see right here on CBS2. And of course, we'll have more of the Rams coming up for you at 6 o'clock. Back to you in the studio now.
Okay, Jim, good to see Gurley so happy. All those millions of dollars,
Ooh,
right?
Ooh, it's gotta help
Anybody
for
be
sure.
happy after that?
Oh, yeah.
Well, guess what? You can earn some extra money while making the Rams happy at their Rams games. The team is now hosting a one-day job fair as they fill positions for guest services, ushers, ticket takers, and more.
That event is tomorrow from 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, Gate 28. And for more information, just visit us online at CBSLA.com.
And of course, Rams preseason football begins in just one week right here on CBS2. They take on the Ravens in Baltimore. Our coverage starts at 4 o'clock next Thursday. The kickoff, 4:30 p.m.
I love hearing that music.
Me too.
It's like the fall, right? Just everything football in fall.
Get the cooler temperatures with you right there.
That's for sure. The federal government says California should not set its own clean air rules.
Yeah, how state leaders plan to fight back.
Also, police hope security camera video will help them solve a deadly hit and run.
Also on strike for rent hikes, the drastic measures some Highland Park tenants are taking to fight back.
And caught on camera, drivers see this massive fireball after an explosion at a gas station.
And we're still looking at monsoonal moisture and heat in our forecast. We'll let you know how long this is all going to last coming up.